So today I'm going to be doing another one of these really tiny canvas paintings, and this is going to be another water lily oil painting. These are really nice because I get to use up paint that's left over on my palette. They're only about 2 inches big, and I use a palette knife for most of them. I like to use a palette knife because I like to paint these little canvases really quickly. I like to keep them loose and fun. Occasionally I will use like acrylic paint and make something more detailed, but this is like a little fridge magnet one. I have them stuck on some metal in my art room, but I like them just to be like really loose and messy looking, and I've been obsessed with Monet's water lilies recently. So this is basically a miniature study of some of his paintings. I did change the colors around a little bit from some of his paintings because this is the colors I had left on my palette, and I do these tiny paintings when I'm trying to finish up and use all the colors I have left on my oil palette. So I am using oil paint for this painting, and I think I mentioned this in my last miniature oil painting video, but painting on these tiny palettes, there's not really a way to avoid getting oil paint onto your hands. That's okay. Oil paint isn't inherently toxic or bad in and of itself, especially if you're using the cheaper oil paint. There's much less likelihood that you're going to be using oils with toxic pigments in it. So in art, the more expensive your art supplies get, the more likely they are to be toxic. This is not a be-all end-all, so definitely don't be like, oh, I have cheap paints, they're going to be harmless. But in general, the really expensive, really nice pigments in very pricey paints are more toxic than the synthetic or substituted pigments in cheaper paints. Not a be-all end-all, definitely check your paints, but you will be getting some of the oil paint on your hands. Don't worry too much. Definitely don't like eat it or like put it in your mouth. Just wash your hands up well afterwards. But unless you're allergic to a particular chemical, and really oil paint is just linseed oil and pigment, but unless you're potentially allergic to that particular pigment or linseed oil, getting it on your hands shouldn't be anything other than just a little bit messy. But I'm almost actually done with this painting. Like I said, these are pretty quick. I did speed this up a little bit so you aren't watching it in real time. But this is definitely a great way to get into painting oil paintings, because I know a lot of people get intimidated with larger oil paintings, and these are also a great way to use up any sort of paint that you have left on your palette. So even like acrylics that you might have left on your palette after you've finished a larger painting, I find these really great to use up that paint, especially if the paint's a little bit on the expensive side. You don't want to waste it. At least I feel really guilty when I waste paint, especially my oil paint, because it's the more expensive of my paint. I think these things turn out pretty cute. You can stick them on your fridge, or if you get the ones that aren't magnets, you can just stick them around. I think that these could also make really great gifts. My mom seems to really like them. I always have several go missing every time she visits. But that's okay because I am kind of getting overwhelmed with these tiny paintings. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed the video.